So what we're doing at Gym, we've got two missions: make connecting and managing frontline workforces easy. We do that through WhatsApp. And the second piece is offer fair financial products to frontline employees. There is so much great technology out there, but in Africa and emerging markets, the basics haven't been solved for the majority of the population, and that is frontline workers.
So you say frontline workers. Tell us what. I think I know what that means, but tell us what that means.
We use the word frontline, blue collar, deskless interchangeably. If you work in a mine, on a manufacturing site, in cleaning, in construction, you're a frontline worker. We sit behind laptops, we're in an amazing room, we've got access to fantastic technology. 80% of the world's workforce doesn't, and they are on site doing something with their hands. That is a frontline worker. In South Africa, it makes up 97% of the employed population.
So when we first met, your model was a bit different. We don't have to go through all of that, but it was earned wage access, right? But the market you're addressing hasn't changed, right? You've just changed how you're addressing it. Just tell us a little bit about that.
So again, to make it the point, we sat down, we had this idea: employees needed access to cash. Everyone needs access to cash, but if you're an underserved frontline worker, you're typically minimum wage. We could give you a better way to access cash when you needed it. The only way most people access cash was, if they ran out, was through a payday lane or a mashonisa, which is what it's called here in South Africa, and that's very, very expensive. Through a payroll deduction, we could offer it at a significantly reduced rate and help serve the frontline workers. What we then learned through selling the product, it's a very difficult product to sell and educate to the market.
And it was dependent on the corporates, right?
Yeah. So you've got to sign, it's a B2B2C model, you've got to sign up the employer to get the employee to use the product.
Right. So the bottleneck was the employer.
Bottleneck was the employer.
And talk about why that was.
I think there's a huge misunderstanding of what earned wage access is and how it can be utilized. It's a very, very powerful product in the hands of the employee. Yesterday, talking about being with customers, we were on site with one of our largest security clients at 6 a.m., understanding how people were using our product. We've got a standard advanced feature and a faster advanced feature. Faster means you can get your payment instantly, but it's more expensive.
Yeah, there's always a fee with that.
And then there's the standard one, which takes 8 hours. But all of a sudden, 80% of our transactions are now being instant or faster. And we actually think that that's harmful to the employee because it's more expensive.
And it's too easy.
It's too easy. So we went on. So we need to take the quantitative data to understand. Okay, on a typical day, why is someone taking a faster advance or an instant advance? And then we needed to go and talk to our customers and understand. And the reality is, it is still 10 times cheaper than a payday loan, and most people don't plan ahead. And if we don't give them that option, they're going to a loan shark. And so,
well, the whole purpose initially was to keep them away from the loan sharks, essentially, right?
Yeah. But we've pivoted our model to focus on connecting and managing a frontline workforce. I'll give you an example. Most of you probably flew in from somewhere to get here to Cape Town. At the airport, Securitas, you will see them everywhere. They are the security workforce. We go through baggage control. If you're checking in, you'll see Naus Colossal. Both of those are our customers. They have thousands of employees. Securitas have 4,000 employees across 800 locations in the country. Now, giving an employee a pay slip in 800 locations when you're not connected digitally is incredibly difficult. So they were couriering pay slips to 800 locations. And the same was for leave forms, for timesheets, for rosters. What we've done is digitize their HR, but in the process, also give their employees access to fair financial products.
So you haven't left earned wage access, you've expanded.
And we're going even deeper. Yesterday, again, to talk about it, we are not just giving people access to their own wages, we're giving them access to better financial products. Because we have a payroll deduction, because we can offer products to consumers without taking on the consumer risk, we can offer products at substantially below market rates. So to give you an example, most employees take out funeral insurance. It's a cultural thing in South Africa. Most people pay between 700 and 1,000 rand across 2 or 3 different products. We can offer a funeral insurance product at half that price because we have a payroll deduction, and we can take away their old products. So we can offer consumers products that meaningfully change the outcome of their financial situation, and at the same time contribute to the employer's bottom line.
When you've added all these services, did the employers become more receptive? Did that help in that respect?
Completely.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a process of listening to our customers. The earned wage access as a concept is a nice to have. You're not solving a problem for an employer.
Versus aspirin or whatever. Yeah. It was vitamins.
Exactly. It's a vitamin, not a painkiller.
Yeah, but that's the right one. Okay. All right. So now that you've sort of made, so why did they become more receptive? You solved the problem for them, right? Because it wasn't really a problem for the employer before they were in work access fees. It was if they felt like they wanted to do something for their frontline workers, they would do that. But they may say, "We'd love to do that, but it's too much of a hassle." What problem have you solved to make them more receptive? Just make that clear.
So, connecting and managing a frontline workforce from an HR standpoint is incredibly difficult. Going back to the Securitas example, if you've got 4,000 employees and you're trying to do anything with them, payslips, scheduling, leave, terminations, absconsions, onboarding, all of it is done on paper. We digitize that entire process.
Okay. Now, again, whether it's whatever space you want to say you're in, I don't really care. But what do you think is the bigger opportunity in Africa in what you're trying to do, and where do you see you taking the business toward that opportunity?
There's 400 million frontline workers in Africa. There is very little digitization that's happened. There's a lot of adoption of smartphones, of technology. There's increased penetration of the internet. Over the next 10, 20 years, and I'd love Megan's take on this, Africa is going to be a workforce that is going to be reckoned with. How do we give the employees that are going to be doing the work the tools they need to do better work and to live better lives?
So will your selling proposition to the corporates move from we're solving an administrative problem for you, making your administrative life easier, probably saving you money in the process, to you need to have these sorts of tools in place in order to recruit a capable workforce? Is it moving in that direction?
Not entirely. I mean, there's high unemployment, so recruitment isn't that difficult because you have a lot of applications.
Okay. Yeah.
But it is how do you empower and retain your workforce and retain the best people? If you are, put yourself in the shoes of a customer. If you need your pay slip right now, you wait in a line at the end of the month, and you wait for an hour to get a pay slip. And when you realize on your way home that 2 hours have been missed, and you haven't been paid your extra 40 rand, what do? You have to go the next day and wait for another hour to query it. And how do you know if you've been paid? You go wait 3 days later. And that's just one process.
Always that bad? I mean,
it's always that. On average, 20% of the workforce queries a payslip. Why? Because the information to get to an accurate pay is also manual. So we've got to go all the way to the source of the problem. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to solve managing a workforce and doing it by connecting them digitally. We connect them digitally through WhatsApp, the most used messaging platform in the world.
And that's why you chose WhatsApp versus building a native app.
Exactly.
It's already installed, essentially.
No, and we won't be building an app anytime soon.
Okay. Why? WhatsApp's very cool.
I mean,
and WhatsApp, more and more capabilities being built into WhatsApp, right?
I would guarantee that every single person in this room has been on WhatsApp more than any other app.
I don't think anyone is not on WhatsApp. Yeah.
And that is the case with the frontline workforce. And I think Meta's view is that WhatsApp will be the place where commerce is done. They are pushing it. It is
Zuckerberg wants it to be the world's super app. I don't know if it's going in that direction as fast as he'd like, or even if it is at all. But I think that was the ambition. Right?
And most people wonder, how does WhatsApp make money? We're the ones paying WhatsApp.
I've always wondered that.
We're the ones paying WhatsApp. We pay per session. So instead of us maintaining a large app that's If we've got a lot of maintenance, we're paying WhatsApp per message. Why? Because when we work with the workforce, we have that entire workforce connected. And the power is in distribution. WhatsApp has the distribution. We now, sadly, are beholden to that distribution. But it's fantastic.
Okay. You mentioned, there's sort of the desk and laptop workforce, and then there's the frontline workers. Is there any path towards a different workforce in what you're doing, or you've been thinking about that?
Maybe in 20 years,
well,
but the workforce we're going after is so underserved,
right.
And there are so few providers. 1% of enterprise technology is being built to solve problems for frontline workforces. So lots of financial wellness apps, lots of cool AI apps. No one is solving for the basic problems that in South Africa, 97% of the workforce have.
So, South Africa, I'm sure there's still a lot of opportunity that you haven't tapped in here. But what is your geographic outlook? I mean, it feels like, is this an emerging markets opportunities or just in Africa?
This is not an Africa play, it's an emerging market play. So we're getting a lot of inbound leads from Pakistan, from India, from the UAE. If your workforce isn't digitally connected, we can help.
I think we need to move on to the rest of the morning, but if anyone had a quick question, you're more than welcome. There is one back there, if you could hold on a moment.
Simon, thank you. I'm curious, if I've understood correctly, and I'm more on the entrepreneurial side of life than the tech side in terms of being tech savvy, but if I've understood correctly, your position in terms of financial products you offer by virtue of the kind of digitalization that you give to corporates of their HR functions. I'm speaking kind of quite crudely, but I'm curious about where you see yourself. You talked about the machinistas on the one hand, the loan sharks and the exorbitant interest rates, and then obviously the formal banking sector, which the majority of these clients wouldn't be able to access. One question is, how do you deal with, or do you at all monitor kind of affordability once the loan has been issued? And I'm quite curious about repayment rates and interest rates charged.
Great question. First of all, we don't do loans. So we offer earned wage access. To give you an example, so we give employees, access to what is rightly theirs. If you earn 10,000 Rand a month, and it's halfway through the month, you've earned 5,000 Rand, but you have no way to access that 5,000 Rand. You've either got to ask your boss or your manager for a salary advance, or you've got to wait till the end of the month. We plug into your payroll system that enables us to understand that you've earned 5,000 Rand, and we give you access to a portion of that for a small fee. So it's an advance. It's an automated advance using technology. So we're never giving people access to a loan. We're only giving them access to a portion of what's theirs. And we're doing that in a way that's 10 times cheaper than the existing alternative. So that is what earned wage access is. But to sell earned wage access, which is a very, very powerful employee benefit, we've got to solve a problem for the employer. And we realized if you solve problems for the employer in digitizing HR, and we do that through WhatsApp, we can actually solve for both. Solve for HR, which is the economic decision maker, and we can solve for the employee. Once we get access to the employee's a deduction on payroll, which is how earned wage access works, we can then offer that employee additional financial products. In insurance, 80% of an insurance product's cost is cost of acquisition. We have the distribution, so we can bring down that cost to say 40% and serve a customer a product that they need, funeral insurance, at a far reduced rate. Customer gets a better product, employer gets a better service to their employee. We have a commercial business model. I hope that helps.
We have one more question.
Are you using any AI and natural language understanding in the back end?
Sadly, on the chatbot, no. We've struggled with building African AI that understands African languages. So there's no AI on the chatbot. There is AI on matching payslips and understanding payslip data. So we have about 1 million payslips in our system, and we are using that data to try and understand what's going on. We're not selling it to third parties, but we understand that data, and we have to use, because the payroll systems we work with are mostly on-site, on-premise, and there's no APIs to plug into them. We have to match payslips with employee data using AI. So that's the only way we're using AI. I'm desperate to use AI in better ways, but sorry, fantastic.
One quick final question.
It's really fast. I wanted to know, what do you do in terms of, because you're using WhatsApp. WhatsApp is getting hacked all the time. We're constantly having to change people's numbers on WhatsApp and move them. I've got such a workforce that looks like the one you're describing. It's about 4,000 people, all motorbike drivers on the road. They're your demographic. So I like your financial products. I'm just scared of this usage of WhatsApp because of how much they get hacked. It's like a weekly problem.
That's super interesting. We haven't had any. So we've got a very clear KYC process. And in fact, one of our problems that we're dealing with is that we've got a lot of people stuck in what we call cold registration, where we're unsure who that person is and we can't verify them. But we've got a process that matches someone's ID number to the last 4 digits of their bank account, which is very sensitive information, and typically no one would know that other than themselves. We can also pick up, we've got a bunch of sort of mechanisms to pick up fraud in the system, or potential fraud in the system. So we haven't had that problem. What's it being hacked? I would love to understand, maybe we're missing something. So I'd love to chat to you about that afterwards.
So I don't know if you were here yesterday when Denver spoke. I don't see Denver in the room. So Denver from MTN gave us the most fascinating stats that I was actually really, really surprised about. And he was presenting the power of actually just text message, advertising to cell phones, and the research that MTN have done, the volume of please call me's between MTN and Vodacom. The majority of airtime is actually R5 vouchers, and how actually the lower level employees in South Africa do not have smartphones. They utilize, your Nokia, your simple devices. So my question to you is just, a concern is that if you are using WhatsApp, which obviously relies on some kind of connectivity, whether it's data, whether it's Wi-Fi, what are you going to do to address employees? Let's say according to that, I think the one stat was about 40%, those individuals that actually don't have data, don't have money for data, don't have access to Wi-Fi. What happens then with your solution?
Great question. We also heard the same data. On the ground, it's entirely different. So again, we work with employers typically in facilities management, security, and cleaning. It's bottom of the pyramid, and most employees have a phone that has WhatsApp. They may not have what may be called a smartphone, but the phones have WhatsApp. So in some cases, we have 100% of an employer's workforce signed up and using the product, but typically we see 80 to 85% registration rates. We don't have a problem with getting to the employee. We do. The alternative is our competitors who all use apps do have a problem because employees don't have enough space on their phones to download apps, so they get 30 to 40% registration rates. When it comes to data, that is an initial concern. The way we've addressed that concern is by providing products that employees actually really need. So you're not forcing someone to go into the app, but you're giving them access, utility to a product, for example, a payslip, a roster, a timesheet, which is critical to them doing their job. And in security, facilities management, and cleaning, a highly distributed workforce, you need to be connected to your employer or manager to do the job that you're doing. So we don't see the problem manifest in the way that we thought it would, in the way you've described it. But I think that's largely because of the customer we focus on.
Simon, you spoke about Mashonesa and wage and access. And for me, the difference is that wage and access is a digitized form of Mashonesa. The only difference is that maybe your rates that you're charging might be a little bit lower. Now, the question that I have is that how many of your customers don't actually go to Mashonisa after they have exhausted the end wages?
Good question. It's self-reported, so we can't verify this information. But we have 82% of people who started using earned wage access no longer use a Mashonisa. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, again, on site with Securitas, 6 a.m., it's the changeover shift. And we have a concern whether our product is genuinely beneficial for the consumer. We set out to make a financial impact. When we first started, we were called Smart Wage, and we're now seeing higher usage of this instant payment product. And it's great, we're making more money, but I genuinely don't believe that's good for the consumer. So we went on site to understand that. And what became very, very clear to me, to give you the example, if you need 500 Rand and you're living out and you've got to get into work and you don't have 500 Rand, your options are a Mashonisa, which is going to charge you 250 Rand, which you're going to pay back at payday. So today is the 19th or 20th. By the 27th, the Mashonisa is coming in to give you 250 Rand. With GEM, it's costing you 20. We're more than 10x cheaper. That's not to say that they may not need a Mashonisa because they run out of money, but you've got to, and we're trying to get to the source of the problem. Earned wage access is not a silver bullet. It doesn't solve all problems. You've got to go further. So we've got to give the employees access to better fair financial products, and that's really where we're trying to go. Again, using the funeral insurance idea, you've got an individual paying 700 to 1,000 Rand for a funeral insurance product from AFBOB, Sanlam, Old Mutual, Capitec, that has been sold to them by a consultant who's earning commission, that customer does not need that product and is paying an exorbitant amount for it. We can cut that in half. And we need to do that for all of the financial products that these consumers are using. So we're trying to build up an ecosystem whereby we connect a workforce digitally, and that's how we sell into the employer, and we give them access to fair financial products in a way that's genuinely impactful. But it's not going to happen overnight.
Thanks, Simon. Please join me in thanking Simon.